turn it over to you, and let's get going.
Yep. Let me see that. Give me a second here. Give me a second here.
No problem. Ram, while you're getting ready there, I just wanted to let everybody know I'm looking forward to this briefing. I've got Mark from my office is also on the call, and I know several of you have been in touch with our office about this, if not recently, over the months and years. So look forward to the update here.
Supervisor Alcorn, while you're on, thank you so much for attending. And if you'd like to make any other comments, now's a great time.
No, I got it in. So yeah, let Ram go ahead. Filled a little time, so it's perfect. Thank you.
And Ram, just to note, we do have Ben Rhodes here from Reston Association, as well as Michael Holmes from Reston Association. So Michael Reynolds from Reston Association. And so if you guys want to introduce yourselves.
Yeah, sure. Hey there. See a lot of familiar faces here from the neighborhood, but for anyone who doesn't know, I'm Ben Rhodes. I'm the watershed manager with Reston Association, and have been trying to help kind of liaise with this between this project in Fairfax County and our members here, and make sure that Reston Association's interests are met by this project. This stretch of stream was brought to the county by Reston Association years back due to the severe erosion issue and exposed sewer lines. So appreciate Fairfax County leading here on Reston Association property to do this project.
And I'm Mike Reynolds, and I work and support Ben, and we just really want to support all of our residents here in Reston as well as this project. So thank you for having us, Charles.
Yeah, and it's just a quick note that, clearly Reston is our close partner. It's on Reston Association property by and large. And we will we'll work very close with Reston to coordinate impacts to the community, as well as Supervisor Alcorn and his staff. Mark Goldberg-Foss is on tonight from Supervisor Alcorn's staff, who will also be our close contact throughout the process. And then the other folks I'll introduce and let Ram take over. Heather Ambrose is with us this evening. She's a branch chief, Stormwater Planning Division. And Lindsay Nicole, who is the lead engineer for this project, designing for McCormick Taylor. So with that, let me turn it over to Ram Gamir, who is our project manager.
Okay. Yep. Thank you, Charles, for taking over everything. And hi, everyone. This is Ram Gamir, working for UD City in the county and managing this project from design into construction. So today's meeting is about community outreach for Piney Run Tributary at Lamplighter Way and Center Harbor Road Stream Restoration Project. We're pretty close to final design at this point, so we just want to share what the status of the project to all the community members and all the stakeholders at this point. So the project is in Hunter Mill District and is in the Reston Association's property. Is there any problem? I don't know why there's a problem with the next.
Ram, if you want, I can take over and run it from a PDF. That might be easier. Let me give that a shot. All right, I'll do that.
Yep, please. I don't know.
All right. Can everybody see this? All right, let's go. This is slide 2.
Okay, thank you, Charles. Yeah, for the meeting agenda for today, we will be touching base on project backgrounds and goals of the project, the existing conditions of the project. We're currently completed the construction 95% design. We're heading to final design We'll show some examples of the completed projects and the next steps for the Piney Run Tributary. Okay, next one. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, the location of the project will be in the difficult run waterside, and it will be in the Reston Association property. For the regulatory requirements, we have MS4 permit and TMDL that we have to meet the regulatory requirements of, and the project has safety and utility concerns because of this sanitary line exposure in 2 locations. So because of that, I mean, the project is like really important. That's what we're brought into and we have been discussing into in the past. We can see the project location here. And the green line is the Reston Association property boundary, and the blue line here is the project scope that we're working on. Next one. The project goals. The project will restabilize approximately 1,500 linear feet of stream channel that will prevent future erosion and degradation of the channel. It will improve the water quality through the removal of nutrients and sediment, nutrients like phosphorus and nitrogen, and a lot of sediment through the stream. Restore a healthy ecosystem by improving the channel. We'll be installing native trees and herbaceous plants, and we'll be doing invasive plant management as a part of the scope of the project. To protect the sanitary sewer infrastructure, to protect the county assets and the infrastructures, the exposed sanitary lines, to minimize community and environmental impact of the proposed work. We're trying our best to save trees and to protect the environmental factors and other, especially the sediments and erosion, degradation of the area. So that will help like really in the long term. And we'll be trying our best to minimize the community environmental impacts of the projects as far as possible. And we'll continue to maintain open communication information with the community members during the design as well as during construction of the projects. And you can see in the picture here the similar project, Turkey Run, after 4 years after completion of the construction, the project looks like a lot of like native trees around and a lot of stabilized channel. And we can compare the project's current status with the future example so we can see where we're heading on into. Yep, next, Charles. Existing conditions of the stream at Piney Tree. The banks are susceptible to continued degradation and failing slopes. We can see like 4 or 5 feet deep channels and a lot of fallen trees we can see in the area. Next one. Yep, similar conditions here. A lot of stream alignment had been changing from here to there. Widening of the channels and vertical banks can be seen currently in the project side. Yep, a lot of fallen and uprooting of the trees from a stream undermining. And we can see a lot of tree loss here. Yep, other major concern here is utility impacts. We have to protect the county's assets and infrastructures. That's very important for us and the community and the neighborhoods. So these are the 2 exposed sanitary lines. And the stream has undermined a lot here. So yeah, these are one of the situations where we need the project like as soon as possible. Next. Okay, overall, just touching base on the history, how we designed and the current status. So we completed pre-design assessments and survey, and we developed the concept plan, 35%, that was shared with all the community members and the stakeholders. Then we went into easement acquisition of the project. Then we reviewed the preliminary 65% design plan. The current plan, after 95% design plan, is pretty much close to 65%. A lot of changes have been adapted from 35 to 65, but pretty much similar from 65 to 95. So we are in the final design phase here, working on the permitting and utility coordination. And this is the overall plan for the project. So yeah, this is the construction entrance to the Pink Trail. We have a small staging area here, and we'll use the access road through the Pink Trail here. We're trying to minimize the disturbed area around the neighborhood as much as possible. So we're getting close to the stream and using a little bit of staging area available here, here, and here. So this will be the main access for the project. And this is the main stream we'll be working on restoring. Okay, next, please. Yep. Here are some examples of the pictures so we can get a clear picture of what we're heading into. Regenerative cascade pool complex, we'll be using a lot of wood and stone structures. A lot of natural channel design techniques will be used to stabilize the stream sections. This is a riffle grade control where we'll create a very smooth transition of the grade for the flow, reducing the velocity and the energy of the flow, but it's still managing the flow within the stream channels. Yeah, we can see the toe boulder protection for the slopes, for protection of slopes and the stream velocity, the cascade structure, and the outflow stabilization. We'll be using ripraps class 2, especially when we get flow from the outfall. Yeah, this will be the different structures we'll be proposing for this project. Next, please. So here's a little bit of comparison from concept plan, 35% design plan, and construction 95% design plan, which is in the current status. Yeah, the first in the concept plan, the proposed access road was through this side here, which is pretty close to the individual parcel, and on this side, you can see the yellow line here. But after the discussion, we have reduced that area. I mean, we have shifted the access road a lot through the in-stream axis. It's really difficult from construction perspective, but to minimize the disturbance for the community and to control the loss of the tree, we have shifted our access road pretty close to the stream as far as possible. So this part has been removed and this part has gone on this side here. And we're like trying to get a little bit of staging area here and here. And similarly, on the right side of the project here, this section has gone all the way to the Pink Trail, and we'll be accessing the area through this side, where very minimum loss of the trees is observed, and accessing the most of the stream section through the in-stream axis. The contract will be going back and forth to the stream where possible to minimize the losses in that area. Yeah, that's the major change from 35 to 95 for the axis and minimizing the losses. Yep. And for the design portion, in 35% design, a lot of pools have been proposed here, but this has been now the pools have been removed to address mosquito concerns in the area. From the community's perspective, that so we're removing that and we're going with the refill sections. to control the flow, but avoiding the pulls from the project plans. Similarly, on the downstream side, near the end of the project, a lot of pools have been removed and a lot of ripple sections have been added. We can see in the purple here, and just comparing this section to this section in the yellow highlighted area. And to save a lot of trees in the downstream near the end of the project, we have shortened the project a little bit. So this was the preliminary plan to go up to this utility line. We can see here, but the project has been shortened a little bit. We'll be ending the project here now. So hopefully we're saving a lot of trees, but still maintaining the streams and all the project overall goals in the place. Yep. Floodplain modeling. McCormick Taylor has included 100-year, has run modeling for 100-year and 500-year floodplain analysis to see where our floodplain lies and if that will be a problem. That will be a problem for the neighbors. And from their modeling analysis, it doesn't impact the neighbors and the other properties, and all the flood and the stream flow will be bounded within the designed stream section here. So just to see, we have verified that even the 500-year flood remains within the Reston Association property here. Yep, this is the same map. We can see the floodplain through here, and we can see that it's bounded within the Reston Association property. Okay. Yep. Another component of the restoration is planting. In recent times, county has proposed a lot of super calm plantings that have been very successful in our recent projects. So in this project also, we're proposing super calm plantings in these 3 areas from the end of the project around here and near to the access and the staging area near the pink trail. Using of super clumps in addition to dispersed plantings is to improve forest vegetation across the project. Yep, this is the proposed design. This is the current status of the project and the exposed sewer pipe. And after the project is completed in probably I would say 1 or 2 years, we'll see the conditions like this. That's what I mean. We're going from here to here, and yep, it's really important, and that looks really nice after the restoration efforts we made. Okay. Yeah, this is the project examples from according Trib at Oakford Drive project. Yeah, this was the initial condition of the project pre-restoration, and immediately following completion, the area and the stream looks like this, with very stable area and very streamlined flow. Yeah, this is the photo from the same project after 2 years of project completion. A lot of vegetation and stabilized area in the stream. Yep, this is another example for the Parkiran project. You can see and compare the conditions before restoration and 2 years after restoration. Yeah, this is the similar examples where we're using a lot of log seals here to control the grade and the velocity of water running through the stream, and this is a very eroded and it's unstabilized channel. That's what we're moving from this phase to this phase. Okay, path forward at the next steps. Design. So we completed pre-design survey assessment in January 2020. The concept or 35% design plan was completed in January 2022. 65% design plan, January 2024. Construction, 95% design plan. We reviewed that in winter of 2024. Now we're in the phase of final design, approval, and permitting in the spring of 2025 that we're working on. And the construction authorization will be heading into that direction probably next few weeks. And construction award and start, we're expecting summer to fall of 2025. Construction duration overall is tentatively estimated about a year. Then our post-construction monitoring will start after. I mean, it's multiple years, but the warranty for all the construction items will be for 1 year, and after that, we'll be monitoring whole project in the long run. Next, Charles. Okay. Yep, that should be all. Just a brief for the project. Probably we have heard a lot of things in the past, pretty much similar things here today. If anybody has any questions, if we have anything in the chat, probably can work on that, Charles.
We have a number of questions that are in there. Hopefully we answered the timing on that last slide. I'll back up one, that we are in the final design phase. We anticipate construction authorization very shortly, and that working close with Reston and you all will update you when we feel that we have the good timing on construction start, but we'd like to start it no later than this fall. That's the target date, is to try to, again, work with the community and Reston Association to have the minimal impact on the community, but get moving on this project. So that this calendar year, we definitely want to be in construction. There's a note about construction contractors working in a residential area and the idling of commercial vehicles. We'll make note of that and make sure we remind the contractors. For in-person meetings, we will definitely have on-site meetings closer to the construction timeframe to talk about tree impacts and to meet with the community in person, as well as a Pardon Our Dust meeting closer to the actual construction time. So we'll be communicating outward with you all. And that next question is, how will we communicate? Ben reminded me very nicely in the last week that we do have an email list that's out there. What we'll try to do is make sure we do mail postcards for sure, but we'll also try to rely on the email listing. And then we'll make sure we get that to the community leads so they can help us update the email list, as well as individuals can help us update. And Reston's been very kind to help us manage that email list to make sure we are as inclusive as possible in the distribution of information. So you will use the postcards and the email listings for future communication. The note from Angela is about the saplings being very small. We do have, we will sit with this project for at least 3 years for invasive control and maintenance of the plantings post-construction, and the county has responsibility for the restored stream essentially in perpetuity. So we will have maintenance responsibility. We'll work closely with Reston Association as the landowner. And the super clump plantings that Ram showed, the intent is we'll have a mixture of planting types. We're going to have clump plantings which actually survive better and grow faster. The forest around much of the stream area is fairly sparse because of deer browse and former impacts. Some areas it's more dense. So we'll try to recreate the dense plantings in the cluster clump plantings, but we'll also have dispersed plantings throughout the project site to make sure we're filling in gaps and getting trees and shrubs up to fill in those areas. And shrubs are lacking in much of the stream areas because of deer browse. So we'll try to make sure we're filling in and increasing the plant cover. The question about tree die-off post-construction, we definitely understand this issue. We'll be working again with Reston as the landowner. Reston's very good about communication with tree impact issues. One of the things that we're excited to do in this project is working within the channel. So some of the photographs you saw of previous projects involved a haul road outside of the channel parallel to it to construct the project. For much of this project, we'll be working in the channel, which greatly reduces the tree impacts along the channel itself, because we'll take trees that are in jeopardy that are along the banks. We won't be driving outside the channel for much of the project length. So where there is driving outside the channel, we'll have mats down, and then we'll be working in the channel. So, and then we'll be monitoring throughout construction and post-construction, coordinating with Reston on trees. So that's something we'll definitely pay close attention to. I see, Marty, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, you just addressed my comment or my question. The reason I raised it is, if you drive on Barron Cameron, going, I guess, south or southwest, there was a stream restoration project that occurred on the south side of Barron Cameron between Browns Chapel and Reston Parkway. I believe it's between, I think it's Maple Ridge Road and Barron Cameron. Anyways, this occurred, I don't know, 5 to 7 years ago. They placed a lot of large stone, I think, to channelize, but if you drive by there, there's all kinds of very large trees that have died off as a result of that construction project. So I'm envisioning that there's going to be some die-off ultimately for this project. And, those dead trees are a hazard, and they're also kind of unsightly, as is the condition of our stream that we're talking about. But so that's something that Reston is going to manage in the years out. Management of those dead trees that might result as a result of this project.
So we would work closely with Fairfax County to identify what trees are being impacted, years after by this project, and bring those to the county. And then the county has, like either Ram or Charles mentioned, basically perpetual maintenance responsibility for this channel. And so we would kind of negotiate on which trees have been impacted due to the restoration, which ones have been impacted due to the just aging of the canopy, which many trees do age out in our forests in Reston. So Charles, if you wanted to add on to that at all, but we would essentially bring those issues to Fairfax County as they came up, and work with them on maintaining those trees.
Yeah, and the other thing to note is, as I mentioned before, so we'll use matting where we're traveling outside of the path areas and outside the channel. We'll also be planking trees to prevent them from being hit by equipment if they're within 5 feet of the limits of disturbance and they're not being taken down. And then the third thing, as I mentioned before, is for this project, we're actually spending a lot of time in the channel itself rather than creating a separate haul road. So the type of construction you've seen in the past is what has been more traditional that you're mentioning along Barron Cameron, is that you build a haul road parallel to the channel and you drive on that haul road. And the tree impacts are a combination of grading as well as having the separate haul road. In this case, McCormick Taylor has utilized the existing channel by and large. There are places where we have to shift it to get off private property. There's a few places where they're shifting it slightly because of the better geometry to make sure it's going to be more stable. But they've repurposed the existing channel to a large degree, and we'll be driving in that channel for a lot of our project length. I think those measures are going to help us a lot. Lindsay, I don't know if you've got anything to add to that from a design perspective.
I mean, I think you all summarized it pretty well. I mean, a lot of times it's the compaction that is a problem. And the compaction is usually from driving vehicles. The longer the duration of the project, the more trips you take over it. So pulling that access off the majority of the route systems. But, again, there are some impacts as a result of construction. And so I think to Ben's point and Charles, the tag team on the back end to kind of manage that all in concert hopefully works well.
On the tree issue too, so Ram and I were out there into January. We noted a few trees that have declined since we surveyed. So for instance, there's a large oak on the upstream side behind the single family houses just downstream of the townhouses that is outside of our construction limits. That's actually declining. So even though it's not within the area of our impact, we're actually going to talk with Ben about whether or not Reston wants that tree taken down. And similarly on the downstream end, there's a tree that we're shortening the project to miss trees, but one of the trees at the end of the project, it's actually I think it's 231 or 731 rather, if you're out in the woods. That one has highly exposed roots. It is not going to survive, even if we don't do the project, or if we truncate the project. So we probably will talk to Ben about whether or not Reston wants us to take that tree. So we will do, Marty, we'll also look as we go. If there are other trees that have declined since we started this process, we will likely, work with Reston to make a determination on whether or not those additional trees should come down to minimize hazards on the out years.
Thank you.
Question. Absolutely. There's a question about how long the fencing will remain. What we'll do, we leave the fencing in place for 3 years around the super clumps. The 3 years is considered the minimum to get the plants established and keep the deer out. And then we'll work with Reston beyond that. What we do is we use, to a significant percent, we use Operation Storm Shield, which is a partnership with Fairfax County Department of Public Works and a number of our homeless shelters, where we work with folks who are disadvantaged, who are looking to acquire job skills. They form work teams and they are actually paid to come out. They help us with a lot of the tasks, such as fence removal on the back end of projects. And so we'll probably would be out there in year 3 with Operation Storm Shield participants pulling fencing, but we'll also work with Reston if Reston decides they would like to keep some of that fencing and it may be outside of our permanent facility area. We would work to keep it longer. Just as an example, the Park Authority wants us to leave the fencing in place, and they will take it over on their land when we work on their property out to the year 10, because they want to keep it up longer to have the trees really grow in. So our goal is year 3. We'll be pulling it unless we work with Reston for an alternative on how to manage that fencing. Ram, there's a question. Could you please discuss how that year of construction breaks down?
Yep. Tentatively, in the previous discussion, we're talking about the Labor Day time frame to start the project, so we can minimize the disturbance, the pink trail as much as possible. So if we can start around that time frame, for the first few weeks, clearing and grubbing works will start from the contractor. I'll say maybe around 1 to 2 months. That's clearing and just making everything ready, getting the area ready for staging, getting all the ENS controls with all the silt fence and safety fence, everything going around the trees, and separating the LOD. And the tree protection, installing tree protection fencing, etc. After that, we'll have a walk with all the stakeholders, including LDS, who is monitoring the site for erosion and sediment control and regulatory requirements. Then the contractor will mobilize, at least for 6 to 8 months. Probably the contractor will be in the very active construction, heavy construction phase. After that, it will be pretty close to the substantial completion. After that, very minor works for the punch list items, if there is something we have to address at the final stage of the project. So around 8 to 9 months will be like major construction, but in the beginning and at the end will be a bit of slow and kind of things, just to address the problems and everything. So, yep, I'll say maybe around 8 9 months in the construction, 1.5 months in the beginning, 1.5 months in the after the completion will be a little bit of slow here and there.
I see the note on next to Mr. Claris's house on the Pink Trail in terms of the concern about the inkberries, which are the holly shrubs that are mature, and that we definitely have noted that. We talked with him in the field about a year ago, and we have that noted in our plan set to make sure we're working closely with him to reestablish a buffer and protect those as best we can. The construction staging areas. So we still have the presentation up. Let me go back and show you guys. So, all right, so this is pretty much the comparison. In the image you're seeing on the right-hand side is the current plan. So on the bottom of the image, you're coming in down the Pink Trail, and right as you get to where the sewer line crosses, it's very open on the left. We're taking advantage of that open area adjacent to the sewer line for a first staging area. If you look on a little bit to the left of that, the access goes into the stream. There's actually a fairly clear area over here that's we're going to have as a smaller staging area for materials while we're working upstream largely within the channel. And then the third one is the one downstream of the Pink Trail. You cross over at the culvert where it currently is, and again where the sewer line crosses, there is an area that is level above the creek where we can put materials while we're working and accessing the channel downstream. So we're fairly concentrated on these staging areas, and the access will be centered around the Pink Trail to most of these sites, and then using the stream channel itself up and downstream. So what about damage or die off of trees on private property? So we have a limited number of locations where private property will be impacted. We will definitely work with those owners, and but we don't have many places where we're touching trees that are on private parcels. They're primarily trees on Reston Association land, but we'll definitely work with individuals if there are concerns. There's a question about failing or leaning holly trees. We did notice there's at least one dead spruce in there. There's also a few trees that are in poor condition. We'll definitely work to remove trees that are in poor condition along the access wherever possible. We're not going to seek to take additional trees though if they're outside of our limits. So we will work within our limits of construction. We'll really work with owners in Reston if there are things close to our limits that are of concern. Talking about failing holly trees and could they use better trees and shrubs. We'll have to look back at the plan, but we have talked specifically about protecting the inkberry that are there are native. They're Ilex glabra, but we would certainly use native plants wherever we replace anything that is being either it has died or has been damaged or that we're trying to improve. So it talks about deer browse, and deer browse is a major issue for us. So the shrub plantings, the clump plantings are specifically designed to help encourage dense growth. And with the 4-foot fencing, it works if you have a small clump. So the clumps can't be too big. They're no more than 30 some feet in length, and they're about 15 feet across. And as a result, with the dense plantings, deer don't jump in. For the plants that are outside of those plantings, we'll put protectors on the trees so they don't rub them, and we'll remove those protectors after year 3 to make sure there's no plastics in the woods. But that's for the rub. But we use trees that are 5 to 6 feet in height so that their foliage is above the browse level, and that's critical for getting beyond the deer. So that's a critical step in terms of restoration. And there's a note about inkberry hollies maybe not necessarily being the most appropriate species. We'll certainly take that into account. Ben?
Just to note about deer browse and the super clump plantings. I know there's a lot of folks here that are naturalists themselves and have done significant work outdoors. The This is one of the coolest parts of this project to me are these super clump plantings. And I really recommend folks look up some things like applied nucleation or Miyawaki method. Those are sort of similar concepts to this super clump planting. It's kind of hard to find anything if you're just like looking up super clumps, but this is a really cool method for getting plants to grow quickly in these sort of dense areas, prevent deer browse, and get these sort of taller, more robust plants more quickly that we want in this area. So I really appreciate the county bringing these plantings in early on in the project design.
And Lindsay, I'm going to put you on the spot if you don't mind, but they're asking how many trees. And I can't remember off the top of my head what the total count is in this plan set.
I
For the
am in.
plantings.
I had the plan set open just in case. Let's see. Can I do some quick math for you and get back to
Yeah.
you?
While Lindsay's doing that, we had a couple conversations through the 95% plan review. We have these minimum requirements that because we are a Chesapeake Bay community, we have planting densities for resource protection areas. This project actually, a lot of it extends outside of the resource protection area because technically some of it's not perennial. However, we always adhere to those standards. So for Fairfax County, the minimum density for planting in resource protection areas is 100 overstory trees, or actually 109 overstory trees, 216 understory trees, and 654 shrubs per acre. We're going to exceed that. I know we're with the super clumps, we actually put some of them in a tighter density. We also decided to overplant outside of the super clumps to make sure we're getting more trees out there and again protecting those and using taller stock. The harder thing to establish outside of those super clumps are the shrubs because they tend to have low branching patterns. It's difficult to fence them. So what we do have some fencing in places to protect shrubs, and we're also looking at some what are called tubing plantings along bank areas to get more density up along the stream banks. Lindsay, did I buy you enough time?
You did for the understory and canopy layer, and what I will caveat here is that we did incorporate some Susie comments into the 100%. So these are the 95% quantities, so they will be slightly different. We have 222 in the individualized plantings, and that's just trees 5 foot and greater. And then in the I did not get to tally up the super clumps yet, but those have a significant amount in them as well.
Okay. Well, it sounds like we need is, when we communicate back out to the community, one of the questions is tree planting numbers. So I'll make a note, Rom, that when we do email out, we'll include the density numbers. And then the other quick things, we don't have more questions in the chat, but I wanted to double check what we were thinking, we're talking about before we started the meeting with some of the folks who are on board, and I see Supervisor Alcorn. I'm going to look to him and see if he's good with this concept, is that we are going to email you guys an update within a couple months to let you know where we are. So permits approved, construction contracts moving forward, rough timing on when we think we're going to start construction. And of course, we'll work with Reston to make sure of those dates. And then prior to actually going to construction, we'll have a pardon our dust meeting. So we will have another meeting and we will use both postcard and email to advertise. I did see in there a request to have a field component to that. I'm going to look to Rom and defer to him, and we have done that in the past. So we'll work with Supervisor Alcorn's office as well as Reston Association to coordinate a potential field meeting prior to construction also. Get back Rom's contact information there. Get a copy of the 95% or final design documents. The answer is yes, Marty. I think if we can make we can use, let's do this. we can put a copy of the, I've got the 95. If you want to see that, we can put that out, but we can also, if you want, we should be in the final. And Lindsay, I don't remember when you said you guys are getting us the final. It's within a couple weeks or so.
Yep.
When we have the final, we can put that on a share file. It's actually called, we use what's called Ignite, and send the link for download to the email list. If you guys are good with that, anybody who gets the email can download the file, and you can share it with anybody else, and they can download the file too. Will that suffice, giving you the 100%?
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay, great. All right. Other questions?
Just one more question. Are there going to be technical specifications that go along with the design plans, or is it all on the drawing?
No, that's a good question, Marty. We do have a spec book. We can, if you want, we can put a copy of the spec book on the file also. And what you'll see is probably 80, and Ron, correct me if I'm wrong, 80 to 85% of the spec book is boilerplate. You'll see it almost every Fairfax County construction contract. We have about 3 unique sections that occur with stream restorations that will be included in that. Those were mostly addressing issues of planting, invasive control, and any special conditions for this particular project. But we can definitely upload the spec book too.
Thank you.
And by the way, if you guys aren't familiar, every document we have is public information. So if you get us the request and it exists, we can plop it onto the share site and share it with you. If it doesn't exist, we obviously can't produce it. But anyway, I appreciate the questions, and we'll include the spec book with the plans.
Charles, just could we get the plans well in advance of the next meeting? I mean, obviously, if the 95% plan is done, that's great. But before we go to the next meeting, we could have the plans sent out well in advance. It was a little bit hard to see what we were doing. Also, there's still the issue about vehicle traffic, how that's going to be controlled.
And I'll defer to Ron, but do you have a specific question on Mark on terms of the vehicle traffic?
Well, we had questions about where the construction vehicle is going to be on the street. I mean, they're not all going to be going down the Pink Trail. So where are they going to be on the street during the day when there's construction? Where are they going to be parking? How's that going to affect resident access and school bus access coming in and out of the street?
Yeah, and if you don't mind, Mark, I'm gonna add 3 potential scenarios that we've discussed in the past that are of concern to the community. 1, where are construction crews going to park their personal vehicles so they're not clogging up all the street areas? 2, that we're not having a bunch of trucks staging and blocking the road and or idling. And then the third one, I think, was just the volume of traffic and what that's going to look like. So I think that those were, and also the potential to avoid peak times such as school bus drop off and pickup times. So Ram, I don't know if you have any particular comments that'd be helpful for that one.
Yep, especially the construction trucks and equipment will be parked inside. They will manage that wherever possible. And because of the limited space, probably contractor will they will not keep their equipment idle. Only when they will just hold it when needed. So we can try to touch base with contractor that is a very limited space. We have to try to minimize the area for the parking, and we can discuss about that. But in addition to that, for the private parking, we have to find the area around for them pretty close where possible. But I completely understand, and we can remind that to the contractor that at least for the school time and other busy times, we can avoid that area, and I think that's doable.
Just thinking out loud, what we did kind of talk about in the past was maybe we can do is talk about Barron Cameron Park is pretty close by. There's a parking lot that's very accessible off Wheelie Avenue, and perhaps we can get the construction contractor to aggregate their vehicles there for personal vehicles and then limit the number of vehicles that bring people to the site. So that's one of the strategies we did discuss in the past. And Mickey asked if we could get the slide presentation and transcription. So that'll be on me. And I think you got my email, Mickey. You do have my email, Mickey. So I'll put that on me to make sure we're posting the recording from tonight, the transcript from tonight, and then the presentation, if you're okay with this, because it's not AD accessible by itself, it'll either be part of the recording or I can send you the actual PDF of the presentation, whichever you prefer. Okay, good. All right. And Mickey wants the PDF. Okay, good. Are any other questions at this time? You're very welcome, Mickey. All right. Oh, Lindsay's answer about number of trees. It's coming from Judy. Lindsay, you had a preliminary number. Do you have a final number, or is that something we need to send out later?
So I have 270 on the 95% plans, and sorry I didn't circle back to that. I think I was thinking what Charles, when you offered to send the updated, I was kind of thinking it would probably be more appropriate to get that 100% number out, but.
The 270 is the tree planting count on
Is the tree planting count. It does not include live stakes or shrubs.
Okay, so there'll be, those are numbers we can follow up with the total planting numbers. And that's something we can do on kind of the interim update.
Lindsay, is it possible to distinguish between saplings and more mature trees that are being planted? And the numbers?
So, Mark, that's a good question. When we started about 10 or 15 years old, 10, 11 years ago, the standard was to use a 2-inch tree planting for your mature trees. And what we found is most of them died. And the problem with 2-inch trees is they are burlap and ball, and they tend to have significant trauma and root problems because they're grown in conditions where they're often the roots experience damage. What we found is that trees that are about 3/4 of an inch in diameter and they're 5 to 6 feet in height, and we do intensive inspections, those trees actually survive better and grow faster, and they overtake a 2-inch tree. So what we use as our standard is what's called it's 3/4 inch nominal, 5 to 6 feet height, and a number 5 pot. And then we do intensive inspections, and then we also oversee the actual installation, and then we monitor those for 3 years. And then we have the construction contractor replace them within year 1. And then deficiencies after year 1, we work with another contractor to replace and do supplemental plantings in years 2 and 3. So we found much better performance using that 5 to 6 foot high, 3/4 inch nominal tree as our standard. Supervisor Alcorn, did you want to make any closing comments?
Just want to thank everybody for their excellent questions, comments, concerns. Charles, you, Ram, and the team, there were a few requests. I know one of them was about the species of trees, or at least one particular species. Be sure to take a look at that, and any additional information that was requested. Do what you can to get back at the next update. But I think this project looks like it's coming along. I really appreciate the collaboration across the neighbors and Reston Association and the county folks. So thank you, everybody, for trying to make this as successful as possible and create as least havoc as possible on everyone there. So thanks, everybody, for working together on it.
We really appreciate y'all coming this evening, and you've got Ram's contact information. I think a lot of you have my contact information. I think you've also got Ben's contact information. I also encourage you that we are the staff contacts for the county and the RA respectively. You've also got Mark Goldberg Foss's, I think, with Supervisor Alcorn's office. And if you have concerns that we're not addressing in a timely manner, you can always contact Mark, and he will prod us to make sure we are doing our due diligence, and we very much appreciate his assistance with that too if we miss something. All right. With that, I'm going to stop the recording, and I'll please stop sharing at this point. And we will work to get everything posted in the within